Alright, today's lesson is patterns and functions. We are going to write a rule, a function rule. So it's usually y equals something x plus or minus something, stuff like that. So y will always be by itself, and x will always have a number attached with it or of some sort. And to understand relationships of quantities in a function. So, let's go over some vocabulary. Function is a relationship that assigns exactly one output value for every input. So, your output would be your y, and your input would be your x. Okay, function rules is an equation that describes a functional relationship. So again, like at the top, y equals something with an x in there somewhere. A dependent variable depends on the value of the independent variable. So let's go over what that means. Domain is the independent variable of the function. That would be the x we're talking about, we've been talking about, so that's the x that goes here. And the range is the dependent variable of the function, or the other way of saying that is your answer. Okay? So, when you would do this, y depends on what x stands for. Alright, so let's go over some stuff. Oh, no. Go back. All right. Okay, so let's look at example 1 and 2. Right now I have A up here. So when you do this, suppose you are washing and drying clothes at a self-service laundry. The relationship between the number of loads, input, that would be your x, and the cost would be y. So the number of loads, the cost depends on how many loads you got. So how we're going to figure out how to do it, first of all, I know it's going to be y equals. We discussed this already. Y equals. Now, when you have a box, a table that looks like this, the bottom one will always be your y. Okay? If you have a box that looks like this, this would be your x, and this would be your y. Alright? So let's look how we would find out what is with x. How would you find out x if it has a pattern or something like that? So what would I do to get from 275 to 250? Well, let's try subtracting 550 minus 275 and see what your answer would be. And your answer would be 275. 275. What would I get if I subtracted the difference between those two? So this time I have 825 minus 550. And I subtracted, and it would still be 275. Okay, if you have a pattern that is the same, so notice they're both 275s, this number will multiply to your x. So the pattern is multiply to your x. So you're going to have y equals 2.75x. Now, check and see if it will work. I'll do 275. So you would go 275 times 1 equals 275. This is correct. 275 times 2, and that would be 550. 3 times 275 is 8.25. So, yes, this pattern works, and that would be your answer. All right, next. All right. So, first again, you have your x and y. So we're going to find a pattern, adding or subtracting y's. So if I went from 6 to 11, I'm adding what? 5. If I went from 11 to 16, I'm adding 5. 16 to 21, I'm adding 5. Okay, so I know it's going to be y equals 5x. Let's see if it works. 5 times 1 is 6? No, it isn't. It's 5. What do I need to get to 6? I need to add 1. Let's see if that works. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Ooh, 5 times 3 plus 1 equals 16. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. So that's how you would do it with that one. All right, so again, identify the independent and dependent quantities. So I'm going to put independent and dependent with colons on it. So the cooking time for an unstuffed turkey is about 20 minutes per pound. Okay, so it's telling me something cooking time will depend on how much a turkey weighs. So dependent would be cooking time. Okay, what won't change about the dead turkey? How much he weighs. So that would be weight. So this can't change. Let me change. And this can change. Because if I had a 10-pound turkey, it's not going to be cooking the same amount as a 20-pound turkey. That's what you have to do for Thanksgiving and Christmas. They have to figure out how long the turkey takes. Sometimes you have to put it in 4 to 6 hours ahead of your dinner time. That's what the turkey, they're trying to figure out. Lots of math when they do Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners for you guys. Okay, the cost of an amount of bananas increases, so cost, this time independent. The cost increases, so dependent. So that means it changes. So cost is your dependent. And it increases with the number of bananas. So you could say number of bananas or amount of bananas. So that's how independent. Like if I have 8 bananas, that cost is going to increase with that much. All right. Okay, so first of all, let's see, we're going to identify the independent and dependent quantities. So again, it says identify the independent and dependent quantities. So Maria earns $7 per hour after school on Sunday. after school and on Saturday. She works no more than 16 hours. So, independent is the number of hours and what changes? Well, her amount she earns. The amount earned. Let me tell you something. Cost or earned or something with money will always be in the dependent. So, cost will be the dependent one because it depends on how many you buy or how many hours you work and things like that. So that will depend on something else. Next, you're going to give me a range and domain. So domain is independent, so we're going to put it domain. So it has something to do with hours. So she can work how much per week? Well, she can start off at 0 per week. She might not do any hours, but she does no more than 16. So she can do up to 16 hours. But how much money she can make is your range. So, like, she had 0 hours. How much money is she going to make for not doing any hours? Well, she'll make 0 amount of money. How much money will she make if she makes 16? She works 16 hours, so it would be 16 times 7, and that's 112. So she can make up to $112 per week. And that's how this section works. And that's what I did right there. All right, goodbye.